Hey guys! Alright, so part 2 of the Scrappi cardigan tutorial series. I will suggest to make sure you have like a flat area to work on. I did go ahead and make a couple of the pieces already just so I can show y'all what they look like, and I have my squares here of what we're going to be joining together. And I did not weave in my ends on these, so do not judge me. However, I did weave in my ends for these. I did not weave in the ends for the joining part, and you'll see why. I think I'll show you that in the third video. But anyway, I'm going to show you the slip stitch join on how to join the squares. But this is the back panel. The back panel should be 3 squares by 5 squares. So on the shorty cardigan, if you purchase the pattern, you'll see all the modifications for a taller version. So like if you want the cardigans to be a little bit longer and a little bit wider, and then they'll also have modifications on how to make it a little bit, if you want it a little bit, how would I say it, narrower, even wider if you'd like. You can make it even taller if you'd like, but you need some symmetry to it. So the pattern does explain how to do that. Then here is a 1 sleeve on how the squares are connected, and then the cuff. And the cuff can be modified as well, and that would be also in the pattern, but I will show you how I make this cuff in this video. So if you're watching this video tutorial, I'll basically be following what's in the written pattern. I believe so, I think. No, I think at this one I actually chained a little bit more for my cuff. I lied. So I love how my charging port is here. My camera is absolutely dead, so I had to like plug it in. But I'll show you how to join this seamlessly to your sleeves. And then this one is 1 front panel for the shorty cardigan. It should be 6 squares total, so 2 across and 3 down. And then I'll also show you how to connect the front panels to the back piece, the back panel. So hopefully I can get that all done within one video. Here we are. And I guess what? I just tucked in my ends just so I didn't have to, oh, I didn't snip this one off. I lied, I totally lied. However, I did weave in my ends just that way they weren't in the way of this fun tutorial. All right, so I'm going to show you how to join your squares. So I'm going to put together a quote-unquote front panel, but the front panel and the sleeve are pretty much the same for the shorty cardi. So we're going to go ahead and do that front panel together, and then I'm going to show you how to make that front panel into a sleeve as well while we're here. Hopefully I can do that all in one shot while Penelope, my daughter, is sleeping. So if you are one of those types of people that like to lay out their squares in a certain order, I would go ahead and do that first, and get them in an order that you want them in. So when you're slip stitching and joining, they're right where you want them to be. So you get it. My words are like all messed up right now. Anyway, I think I had too much sun this morning. Sorry. Again, I like to chitter chatter. Let's move on. Anyway, so go ahead and lay your squares down flat, how you like them. And typically what I like to do is I like to join the longer side first. So I believe that is the column. I'm going to say these are the columns, right? And this is the row. So we're going to do the column first. So this is the longest side. It is technically the longer side. It's the harder side to get more of the squares together. That way this side is just shorter, you know, at the end. So once you already have them in order, what I do is I kind of just put the ones that are going next on top of the ones that are going last. So if you have multiple squares, if you're doing the back panel, for instance, you're just going to put them on top of each other just like so and stack them in that column, and that way you can grab them to start joining. That way they're out of your way. Does that make sense? I hope that made sense. That way they're out of your way. And if you're kind of like me where you just don't really care which square goes where, I kind of just throw them in a pile and I just kind of grab. Because honestly, I don't really care. I like to have the cardigan just do its thing, to be honest. So we're gonna start with these 2 squares, and I decided to join this cardigan with this color, peach color. So you can decide on the color you want to do. So I'll grab my color peach and set it aside. This one was Big Twist by Joanne. It's actually really nice. I like this color. And we're gonna join the squares still using the J crochet hook or whatever hook you use to make your squares. So if you ended up going up a hook size or if you ended up going down a hook size, whatever hook you use to make your squares is the hook you're gonna use to join your squares. Did that rhyme? That was fun. Anyway, all right, so we're gonna start with a slip knot on your hook. That way it's secure. And I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in. Let me see if I can move my little camera here. Zoom in, come on, you know you can do it. Ah, there it goes. I'm gonna move these squares out of the way. That way you can see me. And since each corner has a chain 3, we're going to insert our hook into the middle chain of the right square first. And we're gonna jab from front to back into the back loop only of that chain, so the back hump, not like so. Let me see if I can zoom in a little closer. So we're going to put our hook, so there's 1, 2, 3 chains here in this corner. We're going to put our hook into this back loop here. Hopefully you can see that. There it goes. And then there should be 1 more chain right there next to it. So middle chain, okay? And here's my little trick. Sometimes I take my yarn and I really just put it right in between the squares. That way I know it's gonna stay behind my working yarn and I don't lose track of it and it's not in front. So I'm just gonna put it right behind my squares. That way it's there. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna put our crochet hook into that middle chain, back loop only, from front to back, just like so. And then we're going to do the same thing onto the left square, into that third, or not the third, the second chain, that middle one, and from the back, from the front to the back, to that back loop, the middle chain. Then we're gonna grab this yarn from the behind, and we're gonna pull it through both, and then we're gonna slip stitch. And usually the first couple stitches are a little funky, and I usually like to pull tight just so it's secure. I'm gonna pull tight here. Usually the first couple of go-arounds are a little funky, only because you'll have nothing to grab onto. But once you keep going, it becomes a little easier. So the second one is gonna be in that next chain next to it, right here. So again, we're gonna always put our hook in first into the right square. So right into this one, in the back loop. And then we're gonna go into this square, into the back loop of the cord. Like basically we're going into the same stitch on the next square. And then we're gonna take our working yarn behind here, yarn over, pull it through both of those, and slip stitch. So far this is what it should look like. And then we're gonna continue that now. So now we're at the double crochet. So we're still gonna be working in the back loop only. So right here in the back loop, starting on this square first, we're gonna go on to the next square, pull up a loop, bring it through, and you'll notice now that like with a couple of stitches you'll have something to kind of grab onto. So my hand likes to hold on to this one, and this hand kind of like holds this one down. And I kind of like to make sure that my stitches aren't too tight, but I like to have some tension. That way it's not loosey-goosey. So far I have 3 here. And we're gonna keep going down that row, doing the same. And I like to use this thumb too, just to kind of hold. So same thing here. And down here. Oh my gosh, my dog is snoring right next to me. But guess what? I'm gonna put some music in the background of this, so hopefully you guys don't hear it. Anyway, we're gonna keep doing this and making sure that the yarn is still behind your work. This is basically going to help your, I guess this is what a seam is called, the seam stay flat. So we're gonna continue this method. Ooh. And sometimes you may lose your yarn, and that's totally normal. Hopefully I'm going slow enough, that way you can kind of follow what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out if I should look at the camera or if I should look at my work. I just want to make sure I'm in the screen, because I know my previous video I was kind of getting off the screen a bit. I'm not used to this, y'all. This is like a learning curve for me, so I'm trying to be better. So we're gonna keep going down the square until we reach the middle chain of the next corner. So we're gonna just keep going down until we reach the middle chain of the next corner. Keep going down. Alright, I'm already at my first chain here at the corner. This should be my middle chain. So this is my middle chain. Haha. Alright, so far this is what it looks like with 2 squares. Let me see if I can zoom out just so you can see a little bit better. So this is what it looks like with 2 squares joined with my working yarn still behind my work. There it goes. And now we're gonna add the next 2 squares. And so I'm gonna grab from, ooh, zoom out, Priscilla, oh boy. Now we're just gonna grab from our pile, however you did the order, if you're one of those people. And we're just gonna put the squares here, just like so. And we're gonna continue on. So let me zoom in, that way you can see. There it goes. All right, so keeping the yarn in between the squares. So now we're going to basically do the same thing as we did when we started. So we're going to find the middle chain on the square to the right. 1, 2, 3, so that's 1, 2. We're gonna jab it. And then make sure your working yarn is still behind. Find the middle chain on this one. 1, 2. Make sure you're in the back loop only. And then we're gonna grab that working yarn over, if I can, yarn over, pull through. And then here I kind of just pull tight a little bit. All right, now we're connected. And then we're just gonna continue on, and we're gonna continue on until we're done with this column. So this column that we're doing is the front panel, so it should be another set of squares. So after these 2, I have another 2. But we're gonna keep going down the same pattern. And I might meet you back to do the rows. And so I can show y'all how to do the funny little intersection where we would be passing the join here. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna finish my columns and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So I went ahead and did my full row here. I just wanted to show y'all and zoom in here how to finish off. So zoom in. So when you finish off when you go all the way up, you're going to finish off in the middle chain as well. So we're going to, I've just got into my chain here, so we're going to slip stitch in the first one and then in that middle one, so that second one. And we're just going to slip stitch, and then we're going to fasten off. So I'll fasten off, I usually just chain one and then I pull all the way through, and I already snipped my yarn, and then I just kind of tighten it down, and there you go. And that's how I fasten that off. And then I'm going to show you how I join the row. So let's zoom out, Priscilla. Okay, so now that column is done, we're going to now join here. So I just like to flip it kind of in a way that I could work this way. I don't know how y'all do it, but you guys can find a way that's more comfortable for you. And then grab your working yarn, make a slip knot on your hook like we just did when we started. And I know this may look funny, but I just kind of tuck it under my squares just so it's underneath this join here, and so it makes sure it stays under your working, you know, underneath your squares. So let me shimmy this way, and we're going to begin just like we started in the beginning here. So find your middle chain here, and it does get a little funky, so because you kind of have a hard time finding a place to hold your yarn, but trust me, once you start joining the squares, it kind of like you'll figure out a way how to hold them, and it'll get easier. So we're gonna join. I might zoom in, so give me one sec. Let me just join that first little thing there. There it goes. So my working yarn is still behind my work. Alright, so we're going to continue down like we have been doing. Back loops only. Just making sure the yarn stays behind. And I'm sure you'll probably notice that like I do have like a little bit of a rhythm on how I do this. If you feel a little bit more comfortable, you can just like jab, pull the yarn through, and sometimes I could just let the crochet hook do its thing. Sometimes that's helpful too. Let it naturally just pull through all the loops. You can use your thumb to help it out. Alright, I'm going to make my way into that intersection. You'll notice that it's going to be harder for you to hold here because there's a join here, so it gets a little funky, but it's okay. You'll make it. Start using less fingers to hold your squares. Alright. I have that stinking song stuck in my head. It's like that, but it was a Michelle Branch. Like, making my way downtown, walking fast. Is it Michelle Branch? Or is that Vanessa? I don't even know. Maybe you'll tell me in the comments, I'm sure. Uh-oh, see? I'm going crazy over here. Because you kind of like lose track of where to hold. So now I kind of just put my hand in here in the back squares. So you're hooking the back loops only. Alright. Now this is where it kind of gets a little funky. So I'll probably try to see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Aha, that's as far as I can zoom in. Okay. So I'm at my last double crochet here. Grab my working yarn, pull it through. Stitch. Okay, so there should be one chain here that hasn't been worked into because we have already worked into that middle chain when we were going through here this way. So we're going to work into that chain here, the unworked one. So jab. Ooh, my yarn split, so let's see if I can unsplit it there. Jab. now we're just going to hop over this. And we're going to find that single chain that was not worked on either one of these squares. Pretty simple, huh? And we're just going to go right over it. We're going to find this one, go in the back loop, from front to back. This one, where is it? Right there. Here it is. Ooh. I'm looking in the camera. Let's look here, Priscilla, on the working. And pull through. And there you have it. Now it just kind of went right over. We're gonna go and continue on. Continue on our merry way down this row, like we have been doing. Slow and steady wins the race. And of course, you'll find your groove, and if you feel like you need to hold your squares upright, you don't like them laying flat, you'll find what works for you. I noticed that if I lay them flat like this, I have an easier time getting my hook into the back loop, and it makes it easier for me to keep my yarn back there when I have them laying flat. I noticed when I have them just holding them in my lap, holding up like this, I tend to bring this forward for some reason, and I don't want that. So it's just easier for me. So we're gonna keep going down until we get to our last corner here. Last double crochet, and we're going to keep going until that middle chain. So slip stitch in there. Oh, I chained here a little too tight. There it goes. Middle chain. Oh, my yarn split again. There it goes. And then we're gonna fasten off. Where's my scissors? There they are. And let's just snip, pull, and I just tighten it down. So this is what it should look like. Let's see if I could zoom out. There it goes. So you already did the full column, and I didn't obviously do this one yet, but this is what it should look like after you've joined your column and your rows. It should be a pretty flat seam. It should be pretty stretchy, as you can tell. So pretty good stretch here. So that's kind of what you want. You want them to have that little bit of a give. You don't want it to be too tight. So make sure that you are using the same hook that you use to make the squares to join your squares. So I'm going to go ahead and join these together, and then we'll have a front panel done. And what you can do is you could replay this video as many times as you need to kind of join your squares, follow the pattern, make sure that you're making all your panels in the correct way. You can follow the graphs in the pattern. But I will definitely have some photos for you. If you're not a video type of person, the photos could refresh your memory if you've only watched the video at least once, just to kind of get an idea on how to keep the yarn behind your work. But after I finish this row here, I'm going to show you how to make this sleeve. So I'll be right back. Alright, so you should have all your squares joined, and I'm going to show you how to do the sleeve. So the sleeve for the shorty cardigan, and this will also apply for your whatever size you're making, depending on the graph from the pattern. So if you're doing the shorty cardigan, you're basically going to fold it like so. So typically on the graph, I have this little green dotted line on this side of the squares, and you're going to slip stitch that over onto this side. So if you're doing the taller version, and I call that tall glass of wine or water, you'll have, I believe, I believe it's 9 squares or so. Doesn't matter which way you fold it, but you're gonna basically make a tube. So you're going to join the squares this way. So we're going to do the same thing that I wished there was a way I could explain this, maybe like fold it like a book. So, and we're going to join the squares this way, or whichever way you want the cuff to be on. So if you're particularly where you want your colors to be, make sure you're joining. So let's say, for instance, you want the colors that you have on your squares. Let's say here you want your cuff, this side to be where your cuff is, then you're going to start your join this way. So just to keep that in mind. I know there's some people out there that have a particular pattern that they want to follow with the colors that they chose and stuff like that. So continuing on with our 6mm hook, or whichever hook you use for your squares, we're going to join. I'm going to shimmy my yarn underneath my work, and then with these little 2 ends, I'm going to tie a knot here, just so they're together. And then we can just tuck these in and weave them in later. And I'm going to zoom in here just so you can watch a little bit better. So, and making sure that you're slip stitching it on the right side. So this is the back side of the squares. I probably should have prefaced that in the beginning, but this is the back side and this is the front side. I hope you all know that. You want the slip stitch join to be on the outside of the cardigan. So, making sure working yarn is on the back. Going to slip stitch into that middle chain. Making sure the yarn is staying behind. We're gonna go down. Oop. My yarn is splitting a little bit here. This party yarn is from, this is the Big Twist party yarn from Joanne. I love it so much, but it does split a lot. You have to be very patient with it. So we're going to slip stitch join all the way down. Move this down a bit. Understanding how to join these squares. I'm trying to do a little bit better on putting words together. I feel like sometimes like my brain thinks maybe faster than my mouth, or I don't know. Sometimes I have a hard time explaining things. So sometimes obviously a video is easier. So I can include this in the pattern for those who need a little bit better explanation than what I could provide. So here we go. We're going to be at another intersection here, and this is no different than what we just did previously when we were doing our rows. So we're going to work into that unworked first chain, like that one chain that was not worked on either square on each side. And then we're going to hop over this knot, and then we're going to work into that chain that's not worked on the other squares. There you go. And we'll make our way down. All right. And then we're still gonna finish off on the second or middle chain of the square, and we're not going to fasten off. We're going to just draw up a loop here just so we don't lose our working yarn, and we're going to switch out our hook to a 4mm G hook, and this is where we start our sleeve. So our sleeve is basically a ribbing, and I didn't tuck in my ends here, so don't mind me. So this is what it's going to look like, and it has like a little bit of a stretch, and this is completely modifiable. So if you prefer to have a shorter cuff or even a longer cuff, you can make it longer or shorter. So for this particular cardigan, I chained 21, so you could do it basically however many chains you want, but I'm going to do chain 21. And if you want the cuff to be looser, like of a looser fit, I'll show you here while we're going back down on the chain on how to modify the cinch. So I call it a cinch mod. So we're like the cinch of the cuff to keep it tight, or if you even want it tighter. So let's say if you have like you're making this for yourself and your wrists are a little bit thinner and you want them just even tighter, you can cinch it even more if you'd like, and that would be less repeats for you, like less work, obviously cooler. But yes, I'm going to show you that. So I'm going to chain 21 with my G hook because I already switched over. So this is my 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So that chain closest to hook does not count. So technically my ribbing is 20 single crochets. So let's say for instance you want your cuff to be 25 long, you would just chain 26, if that makes any sense. So I chain 21 because I want 20 single crochets for my ribbing. So now we're going to single crochet down this chain, but we're going to start in the second chain from the hook. So we're going to single crochet down, starting from the second chain from the hook. Ooh. I guess I probably said this earlier, but thank gosh I'm putting some music behind this video because, oh, my Lanta, my yarn is a little squeaky. I wonder why it does that. So it's a wee bit squeaky, but we're gonna make our way down to the first chain that we've created, and this is where we're going to start cinching. So let's see if I can get to my first chain. There it is. So the chain next to it is considered as a stitch. So I'm gonna slip stitch 3 times because I want my cuffs to be cinched pretty well. It's not too tight on my wrist, to be honest. So like when I put my arm in here, it still has some room. And I did that on purpose because I wanted, you know, you want some wiggle room. And if you wanted to layer or do anything like that, I probably could have done a slip stitch 4 if I wanted to have it a little bit tighter, just a wee bit tighter, but I didn't want it too tight. That was just my own preference because I think I'm going to keep this for myself. I'm unsure yet. So I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch and in the 2 after that. So slip stitch 3. And it doesn't, there you go. And you're just going to slip stitch into the full stitch. So I slip stitch 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to turn our work. That was like tucked in. And we're not going to chain, so there's no chains after the slip stitch into the sleeve. And then now we're going to find that first single crochet or that last single crochet we did in the cuff here, and we're going to single crochet in the back loops only all the way down here, so there should be 20. So to help you, you should count, or if you like to put like a stitch marker, make sure you have one like right here on the bottom, since we're not chaining. I noticed if I chained here, it would gap. It would leave like a little bit of a hole, and I didn't like the hole. So note the chain here just didn't look right. So that's why I don't chain after my turn or before my turn, however you want me to word that. So I'm going to single crochet into the back loop only of right here of the ribbing. Oh my gosh, I can't think. So crochet in the back loop only, and you want to kind of crochet it a little tight, just a little bit. That's why I go down a hook, mini hook sizes for the ribbing. If you want it even tighter, you can go down another hook size if you like. I personally don't like to go under 4 millimeter. That's just my own preference. So you obviously maker's choice. So you just do what you find best or what you feel more comfortable with. So I'm going to continue down this row in the back loops only. And for me, I should have 20 single crochets when I finish. And I did. So when you get to the end, you're going to chain one and you're going to turn your work. So now we're going to go back down to the sleeve, and we're going to continue that in the back loops only. Single crochet in the back loops only. So single crochet in the back loops only. And then when we get back to the sleeve, we're going to slip stitch 3. But if you have already decided that you want your cuffs to be tighter and you're slip stitching a different amount, or if you wanted your cuffs to be looser and you're slip stitching less, go ahead and do that. I wouldn't slip stitch less than 2, to be quite honest. If you do slip stitch 1, I think what's going to happen with your sleeve, you probably could just slip stitch 1. You can totally give it a shot. I just know that if you slip stitch 1, the sleeve kind of it actually bellows out a bit more than the sleeve itself. Like it'll kind of bell out. You kind of want it to like narrow in a bit. So you probably want to just slip stitch 2 if you want the cuff to be just a smidge wider. If you want the cuff to be tighter, you can slip stitch as many as you'd like to make it as tight as you want, since the ribbing is quite stretchy. So this itself is quite stretchy. It does have a give to it. So if you do want to slip stitch more than 3 on the sleeve, you totally can. So I'm going to slip stitch, once you make it back to the sleeve, we're going to work into the next stitch over. Do not work into the stitch you already did a slip stitch. You're going to work into the one next to it. Slip stitch, slip stitch, and slip stitch. And we're not going to chain, we're just going to turn, and we're going to repeat that same sequence, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. And then I'll meet you back at the last couple of rows, because we're going to go all the way around till here, and then I'll show you how to join the cuff together. Alright, I'm back. So I did my ribbing part here all the way around, except for the last part here, because I should have about 3 slip stitches left. Typically towards the end, it may not be an even number depending on how many slip stitches you do. Like if you do like 4 or 2 or whatever the case is, this is fine. This is totally fine. It doesn't have to be completely even, but just make sure you do the same thing on one sleeve to the other sleeve. So that is totally fine. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this row. So I'm going to slip stitch 3. 2 and oh, I'm like off the camera. Look at me being crazy. 3. And I'm gonna turn my work, finish this row. I'm gonna show you how to finish your cuff off. You can speed through this part, and just And FYI, my yarn has been squeaking all the way through this entire cuff. I'm unsure why. It is driving me bonkers, but thankfully it is almost done. I don't have to hear it squeak anymore. I even tried to like clean off my crochet hook or do something, but maybe, I'm still off the camera. Sorry about that, but okay. So to finish off, we're going to close the cuff with a slip stitch, but instead of joining on the back loop, we're going to join in the front loop of this, the side that we have our yarn attached to, and we're going to slip stitch onto the back end of this chain that we did on the beginning. So I'm going to zoom in, see like how good I can zoom in here. I probably can zoom in a little bit more, hopefully. No, I can't. I think that's it. All right, so we're going to put our hook through this front loop here. And our working yarn could be in the front, that's fine. And we're gonna slip stitch or put our hook through the top of this chain. We're gonna slip stitch. We're gonna slip stitch this close all the way down, and just, you can go right through that front loop. Just the front loop only is sufficient enough. And we're just gonna make our way all the way down, making sure it's even. Ooh, there it goes. Front loop only. Getting off camera again. Look at me going crazy. I got used to crocheting a little closer to me off camera while it was not recording. There we go. Just make sure you are even. So this is what it looks like so far. So it should kind of have like the same kind of bump as everything else. You'll know it's a seam. I tried the method of sewing it together, but it didn't look quite cute in my opinion. You could totally do it if you prefer, instead of slip stitching it down. If you prefer just to whip stitch it shut, you totally can. Maker's choice, of course. I always say patterns are mere suggestions, but if you'd like to follow what I do for the first go around, you totally can, and then you can always make changes later. But we're gonna slip stitch down using the front loop only. Ooh, I lost control there. Woo! And all the way down. I'm gonna get quite too tight over there. Let's see if I can get through there. Making sure it's pretty even here. Still even. Just going through the front loop only, all the way down. The yarn split a little bit there. Goes. Okay, we're almost at the end. We've got one more that's a little hidden right here. Hidden single crochet. Don't want to forget about him. All right, so once you get there, sometimes I like to just take my hook and I just kind of slip stitch under here, just so it's like attached, but like totally unnecessary. This is just me being crazy. And I slip stitch and I fasten off. And I kind of tighten it up there. And then we just gonna leave this end in. And that is the cuff. Let's see if I can zoom out. Woohoo! So that's what it looks like. So this seam here, we'll make sure that when we attach it to the cardigan, it is at the bottom. So when you have it on, it is usually like towards the bottom of your wrist. So unable to see at the front, but totally smooth, little seamless add cuff to the sleeve part, and pretty easy. And then you can weave these ends in. Typically I'll just take my crochet hook from the inside of my sleeve and I'll just grab these wispy ends and I'll pull them through. I think there's gonna be another one, or is that just one? I think it's just one. And then I kind of pull this inside out. And I do make another knot here. And if you totally want, you can just snip this off, or if you want, you can weave it in. I just snip it off. It is pretty secure, if you ask me. I just do one more little knot just to be, but it is the inside of your cardigan, so no one's really gonna see that. And then I'll leave these here for when we join the rest of the cardigan. You can weave these ends into the cuff just to be safe. I would weave them in a couple different directions, that way they don't come undone. But yeah, so far so good. That is the sleeve. So there is one, and then I have another one here, so they should look pretty much the same, almost the same. Like I said, I don't really particularly care how my colors are. I could always tuck in those ends later. I'll make sure my seams are down. So those are my sleeves. I'll go ahead and do a front panel, and then I will come back and I'll show you how to actually construct the back panel and the front panel together. And then on video 3, I'll show you how to add the sleeves onto the back and front panels, and I want to call this the hem. I have no idea what to call that. Is it the little ribbing on the bottom and in the front edge of the cardigan? So, be right back. All right, well, I'm back. I finished my second panel for the front. So I'm going to show you how to attach them to the back panel. So what we're going to do is, actually, the easiest way to do it is lay your pieces down right side up. So I'm going to actually do it upside down, which is easier. So again, if you're one of those people that want the pattern in some way, shape, or form, I would put the squares that you want on the bottom away from you. So I'm going to shimmy this down and lay it flat. I'm going to grab both of my front panel pieces, which are these two pieces, and we're going to line up these seams here. I love how my charging wire is still hanging out over here. There you go. To the last 2 points. So I wish that my camera would go a little higher, but it won't. So since it's made out of five across, so the front panel is only 2, so you're gonna put it right on the edge. And we're going to slip stitch from the outside in this way, making sure that this meets so it stays even. So I'm just going to tie a knot here so I remember that these are together. We're going to slip stitch from here all the way down to here, and we're going to join when we get to this middle chain here. We're just going to join with that middle chain here that is joined here as well, just so it's connected, and then we're going to fasten off here. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Come on, little camera, you know you can do it. So you know how we did join into that middle chain here? like we slip stitched when we did this row here, where we're slip stitching down this, we're also going to slip stitch into this middle chain, but we're going to slip stitch again into this middle chain as well. That way they're together. Hope that makes sense. Excuse you, Remy. My dog just woke up from her nap. And she like shiver shake her, and she like shook it up. So we're gonna tie a knot there. And then we're gonna do the same thing onto the other side. So I'm gonna shimmy this down, just so you can see me tie a knot to the other side. Grab my other front panel. Make sure they're lined up. And I'm like totally standing up right now so I can kind of see this better. And then we're gonna slip stitch from the outside in. Let me just move this out of the way. That way I could slip stitch with this together with you. Together. And I can show you what it looks like at the end. Let me sit back down. And yes, I am still on my dining room table. I'm grabbing the wrong hook. We're joining with the hook that we made the squares with. So, slip knot on our hook, and zoom in. Make sure this is flat. We're gonna put our yarn underneath. That way we make sure it stays under our working yarn, or under our squares. I keep saying working yarn, bad habits. So we're gonna start in that middle chain again. Move my camera just a smidge over here. Hopefully I don't fall over. There it goes. We're gonna just join these panels together using the same method we've been doing, joining our squares. We're just now joining these big pieces together. And just making sure that all your pieces are facing the right side up. That way the seam, or the slip stitch, is the same way as everything else. I'm out of the frame, look at me. Ooh. Lost my working yarn for a sec. Keep going down as we've been doing. Running out of room to hold on. I'm getting to my little intersection here. Lay down, Remy. Penelope is still sleeping and my dog is just walking around, pitter-patting. She's looking for a toy or something. All right, got my last chain over there, so now we're gonna hop over this knot. To that next chain over here. We're basically doing the same thing we've been doing, joining the squares. We're just joining now just these panels. So it's the same concept. Just makes things a little easier. Ooh. I think my little one is waking up, so hopefully I can get this done quickly. I see her wiggling around a bit. I think she's ready for her nap to be over. So keep going. Oh, lost my yarn. Go. once we get to this corner, I'll zoom in just so it's a little easier so we can see what I was talking about. I'm working in that first chain that was not worked in yet. And then now I'm going to work into that second chain. So, which already has one in there, so which is totally fine. So we're just going to go right in there along with that other slip stitch. Pull through, and then we're going to fasten off. And I don't know where my scissors are. I think I hid them. I may have hid them. Oh no, they're right behind me. Haha. I'm going to snip that off. And voila. So now it's already joined. So our first panel to our back piece is joined. There it goes. So it should be a seamless line. And like I said, you can always pull these little strings in and tie a knot on the inside or weave them in how you want. That way they're gone. And then we'll just do the other side and I'll meet you back and show you what I got. I'll take my camera off the tripod, that way it's easier for you to see what it looks like. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I have both of my front panels attached and this is what it looks like so far. So I just folded it over. So this is the back side of the back panel. And there you have it. So I hope I was able to kind of give you an idea of how to join your squares. You're able to follow along. And in the next video, I'll teach you how to add on your sleeves. So those will go here, just like so, and then I'll teach you how to slip stitch here, add the sleeve, and then add the, I'm assuming this is called the hem, I'm still stuck on that word, and around the collar, and back around, and then add the other sleeve. So part 3 will be coming. Hopefully I have some time on another day, but my little one is waking up, so that is all for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can always reach out to me on Instagram, or you can leave a comment on this video. I'm doing my best trying to like read through these. I have a hard time figuring out how to turn on notifications for this app. Again, I'm new to YouTube, so also I do get questions a lot about what this yarn is. This yarn is from Joann. It's the Big Twist Party yarn. I think this color is called Canyon, this purple one, and then this one's called Canyon, I want to say. I'm sure I'll put it somewhere on this screen here when I edit this video. But thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I will hopefully add some more videos as I get more comfortable making them. But thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.